Mr. Monte Silva, and we are live. Welcome to our listeners to the Disruptive Chef Club. It's our private club where we have conversations like these to help you shorten your learning curve in the hospitality industry. And I'm excited to have Mr. Monte Silva, my co-host. Mr. Silva, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Christian. You know what I'm super excited about today?
What are you excited about?
We get to flip the tables a little bit, and I get to do more of an interview on you and something you're working on instead of the other
Ooh.
way around.
Yeah,
It's
okay. No joke.
exciting.
So before we get started, how was your weekend?
It was great. I got to get my air conditioning unit fixed in my Murano, and I live in Florida, so this isn't the opportune time for that. But other than that, it was a great weekend.
Awesome. Did you get to spend some time with the family?
We did. We went to the pool and hung out there, and every Friday, my son, he's 5, Isaiah, we do a family movie night. So we do pizza, and then we do a movie with popcorn, and he chose The Empire Strikes Back.
That's awesome.
He's a Darth Vader nut. I'm like, dude, can't you root for like the good guy? But yeah, so we hung out, and then I had a chance to spend some time. You know, date nights are super important. Got a chance to go sit by the water and have a cocktail and sit and talk to my wife for a couple hours, which was great.
That's awesome. So we are at the Disruptive Chef Club. Are we allowed to share what is hitting the bookshelves in the US on the first week in September?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be working on a book for a couple of years now, and kind of got stuck and didn't really know how to go to the publishing route and how to really try to maximize just how the quality of the book, as well as the publishing side and distribution side. So I have this really good friend and mentor who is helping me, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I want to learn more about that. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that today. So
Okay.
basically, I'm a little bit of I'm not a guinea pig because you've done this for a number of people, but I am fortunate enough that you are going to help me get my new book, Shift Happens, out by the end of August, and just in time for some conferences I'll be speaking at and opportunities to do some book signing.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And thanks for entrusting us with your baby, because we think a book is no different than a family member, because you work hard on it. And if you do the right thing, it keeps giving back. And, it's going to keep recognizing you. So thanks for allowing us to help you with your book.
Yeah, I'm excited. On the book, I think it's going to be in the back. I'm not sure exactly where, and probably on the inside cover. There will be Premier Hospitality Publishing Company listed there. That's your company. And I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk to you today about, a little bit about that, and let our audience know that this service is available, that people can contact you and Premier Hospitality Publishing and be able to gain that expertise and support.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And you know how I feel about this. Every chef, every hospitality professional should have a book. So let's get into the conversation.
Yeah. So you kind of just answered that a little bit, but let's start with what motivated you to start Premier Hospitality Publishing Company, and what's the primary mission that you have?
This is a packed question. So now, for me, I had the opportunity to write some books for a company, 25 years ago. And I love the idea of the written word. And I also feel that a book is the single best way for you to get your message out there, and to become a subject matter expert overnight. And you can do what we do here. Yeah, you can have podcasts and everything else, but having a book out there people know who you are because there's only one shot at this. When people read about you and your book, they know exactly who you are and what your mission is. And that's what we do with a book. And for me, I was lucky that the company paid for different publishing companies, and we had, a six-figure budget to write a book. And as I wanted to write my own book, I didn't have a six-figure budget to do my own book. And then the more I learned about book writing, I learned that the average person writing a book spends between 7 and 9 years writing a book. And the second thing what they do, they spend somewhere from 7,500 to 150,000 write their own book. And I was like, I don't want to wait 7 to 9 years. I don't have 150 grand. I need to find a way to do the book quicker, not just quicker. I wanted to have a system. I'm a systems guy. I want to have a system. If I write the book, that if I write a second book, I just follow what I did on the first one, and then we make the process better, and then we do the third one, and we make the process better, and so on and so forth. And now we're 30 plus books in, and I'm very sure that the process we developed is a simple to follow step-by-step process. When anybody with an hour and a half time a day can write a book from having nothing to on the shelf in 8 weeks or less.
Yeah, which is amazing to even think about that. It took me a couple years to kind of put the content down. So 30 plus books, not counting your expertise, the hours you spent honing your craft as a chef and as an operator and everything else and a leader. How many hours do you think you put into creating 30 books?
It's a really good question. My very, very first book was 2.5 years. I had it done. I taught myself self-publishing. I uploaded it, and as I uploaded it says your margins are not working. And I was like, what does it mean? My margins are not working. And I changed the margins, uploaded, it didn't go. And it went back and forth, and I lost so much time because no, I gotta figure it out. And at one point, my wife said, just pay somebody to teach you how to do it. I was like, no, it can't be that hard. I'm so close. It's just the margin. I need to get the margins right. And she says, okay, knock yourself out. A few days later, she said, damn, she's right. I hired somebody, and we had a 45-minute session I hired him for. We go on a call. He says, okay, where are you stuck? I said, I have the book ready. I have the thing, this ready. My margin. Okay, show me the margin. He says, okay, you know what? Click there and drag it out to 0.125. Okay, good. Okay, now upload it. And the error message was gone. I was like, 6 minutes, less than that. And it's the whole story. You heard with Amazon that Amazon in Memphis had that big, every package from Amazon. Oh no, sorry, UPS. Every package from UPS goes through the warehouse in Memphis, and the whole place gets to a standstill. And they had this guy to come in and fix the machine. He goes in there, he taps twice, tightens the screw, and the machine runs again. And at the time, the guy says, what is the bill? He said, $10,000. You probably heard that story. And I says, hey, can you give me an itemized bill? He says, okay, it's easy. Turning one screw, $1, knowing what screw to turn, $9,999 kind of thing. And so for me, that's what my book thing became. So this guy, I paid at the time $350 as an hour consultant. And, he like I said, 2 minutes into the conversation, he said, Christian, that's click there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 125. No, that's not right. Trust me. Click on
it. Yeah. It's so you talk a lot about, and I'll get into this a little more later, but I just want to kind of mention it. You talk about the importance of not only writing a book, but the game plan behind for creating other things like notebooks, workbooks, that kind of stuff. And you learned that you invested in yourself and in your own education, and you paid a lot of money to experts who have done this before. Can you kind of walk through some of those other experiences? You hired this one guy to fix your margins, but you also have paid coaches to really teach you how to do this.
Around the book, um, I did six book writing classes, and they were all just complicated. And for me, I was like, I'm a chef. I treat all my tasks like a chef. Mise en place, recipe, final dish. And for me, it just didn't work. It was just too cumbersome. They said, "Oh, hire a proofreader, hire this," and I was like, "I just not." And at the time, I was just a little bit over 80,000 into it in my self development around just books itself. And for me, then the last guy was the most expensive guy I ever had. And also, what I learned for this whole process, how my book writing changed, he didn't do proofreading, he didn't do editing. He was the final publishing guy. That was his specialty. And as I sent off the book, I was like, this guy gets $350 an hour just helping with one thing. And he's so good at it. I said, there's no way he spends more than 10 minutes with anybody. And that for me changed the way we do a book. And for me, I have a lot of friends which they came with me and we helped write book sense. And they said, Christian, I want to write this book. And for me, I still learn what I learned from that guy. I was like, no, what you just gave me 7 books. It's 8 books, not 1 book. Because the day where we do 1 book are over. I have, a book session over there at the time was $1,000, for this 5-volume book set. And because it was so expensive, I never even looked at it, and, because it's a wall decoration. And, even some of the bigger books, nobody looks at the bigger books anymore. What currently sells, the way books are being consumed, and doing this as long as we do it, we learned that people like small things, how to make 6-minute meals for lunch, how to have, certain things, just really simple. And that's the books which sell. The days of, Joy of Cooking, which was the best-selling book ever, those days are over because nobody buys those books anymore. They want to have just fix my one problem and I move on. And that's what changed the way we do books. And then for me, there's another revenue channel to have other stuff which go with it. And I use one of our students, which wrote a book about barbecue. He created a barbecue journal. He created a barbecue spice mix recipe journal and all the stuff which goes with it. And I think everybody should do that in some way or form, because it allows your book to become more than a book. Because if you want a book to have on a shelf, the way I approach the book is different. If I want this book to become a speaking tool, like for you, I would approach it differently. If this is a book for me to teach people how to cook, the book will be differently. So for us, starting with the end in mind is the most important thing. What is book being used for? How do you intend to bring it into the marketplace, and how do you want to leverage it? And for me, that's the very first conversation, and the way we approach it, is totally different because the outcome is totally different. And so the few conversations we had with your book, I know there's 3 things which sell, and the day we did 2 of them already. And so, we're going to help you with some of the other things. And that's how we approach the book writing portion.
Yeah. How does Premier Hospitality Publishing help chefs write and publish their books? Like, what's the nuts and bolts of that?
That's a really good question. So our goal is we want to have 1 million chefs over the next 10 years write books. So that's our internal goal. And because I feel that every book or every chef needs a book, because if I come to your restaurant, the food is amazing. And a lot of people want to know more about the chef. That book becomes that more. If I want to do something else, the book becomes the how-to. Or if I go somewhere else, a book could become about the 7 proven strategies you have learned. So if I meet you and I hear what you're all about, this is amazing, but reading it is different. Because if you look at the psychology of reading, if I pick up your book, I read your message, because there's nobody better than me. If I read your message with my words, I just made you the subject matter expert, because I just learned from you. So that's the number one. The second thing around for us with the chefs writing the books is we want to help chefs elevate what they do. And for me, a book is the single best way to do that. And the final thing is we're doing it in 3 different formats, because we know that chefs are in a certain levels in their book writing journey. So we have the beginning level where you just come in. It's an inexpensive way to get your book done. but you own brunt of the work. Okay, we still guide you through it. Principles are the same. You need to do most of the work. Then we also realized that some chefs are time bound. You are one of them, And for them, we have a program where we do it with you. So we call the first one DIY. You do it by yourself. You watch the videos whenever you're ready, you do it. The second one is for us where we do it with you. We're saying, hey, we have 3 conversations. Conversation number 1 is, what is the book about? How do you want to have it? What is the layout? What is all this stuff? What do you have? Then we come back. The second conversation is, we think this would really work better with who you are, from the conversation number 1. I think he represents who you are. And the final conversation is where we come to you and say, hey, we took 1 and 2. Now this is 3. And you just say yes or no. So the first version is done for you, do DIY. Second one is then done with you, where we help you. We come on the call, we help you. And then we also realized that people don't have the time to do all of that. And for that, we've done it. We have a category called done for you. You give us all your stuff. We still have conversation number 1. We skip 2. And we give you back a finished book. Not only did we give you back a finished book, we give you a marketing plan. We give you a website where you can send people to and sell the book. We do everything for you. We're giving you a turnkey restaurant operation, for an example, if you want to do it in restaurant terms. So the highest level book writing course for us is that we do all of it for you based on your likes, your dislikes, and what you want to do with the book. And we just hand you over a finished book.
Yeah.
And where we help chefs, because we chefs' time is of the essence, we boiled it down that we can do it very simply. We call it 8 weeks or less. So in 3 months from idea, you can have a book on the shelf. And we had multiple people, multiple chefs we did it with. We do it now with non-chefs, help them write their books. And we have the system down that if you follow the step-by-step process we put in place, there's 23 steps, you can have a book on the shelf from 0 pictures, 0 ideas on the shelf in 8 weeks or less.
That's just mind-blowing. Can you share some success stories of either stuff you've written or some of the people you've worked with? And some of the, actually, before we talk about some of the success stories of some of your clients, can you show the audience the book that you kind of did as a joke, and just your own personal book that you did?
Oh, my
and tell me about the success of something you did as more of a joke.
COVID did a number on us. And, I said, you know what? If COVID would have had used lubricant, it might have been a lot more fun. And so somebody said, this is the funniest thing. You should write a book about it. Good. We put it out there as a joke, sold 18,000 copies and still selling really, really well. We have uploaded, took a whole 26 minutes, and it's still doing really, really well. And we learned a lot of it. Whatever we did here on the graphics and the name, we don't ask you to do this because we made some mistakes. But
yeah, you did that as a joke and didn't even put any time or effort into the cover, and you did 18,000 copies.
And my wife said, "Why is it blue?" I was like, if I think of lubricant and food safe lubricant, it looks bluish to me, And she said, "This is just fucked up." And that's how I came out there.
That's right. All right, so back to reality. Can you talk a little bit about maybe not name the people, but talk about some of the successful clients that you've worked with?
We have one of our clients who came to us and said, "I've been working 7 years on a book like all of us." And I said, "Talk to me about the book." And he talked to me about the book, and I said, hey chef, this is 7, if not 9 books. And he says, "You are crazy. I just, want to do this." I said, "Believe me, what is the thing you know the least about?" And he says, "Barbecue." Okay, first book is a book about barbecue. And he was like, "But I don't know anything about barbecue. Don't worry about it. We're doing it, So we researched the book, and he did it actually with me. So he was part in our second level. We have weekly calls with him for the 8 weeks. He followed the steps. 8 weeks later, actually, he is a little bit, like all the chefs. He had his first book done on day 34. And it was for sale on day 38 out of that time. He had time to make 2 other products with it. We call it low content books to make with it. And that little project for him yielded him, a little bit over 400K in the first 10 months of having his
Wow.
book. And since that, he published 6 more. And he just the other day, he said, I have 5 more on the shelves. So his thing is every 2 months, he's going to roll out a book for the next few years. And because he says, you know what? You made it so simple. I still follow the stuff from 3 years ago, what we learned. And you know what? I keep just doing it until I want to have 100 books out there. So his goal is he wants to do 100 books. And that's one of the success stories we had with our friends. The other success story is we had a consultant, and he worked in air conditioning, but he liked to cook on the side. And so he said, you know what I hate about working in air conditioning? It's just so simple. People just should do it the way we approach cooking. Make sure you have the right ingredients. You make sure you have the right tool for the job. You execute on it. And you think, I was like, you have to write a book about that. And he says, nah, I don't have time to write a book. So he wrote the book. And at the time, his consulting fee was $750. And the day is $5,000 to get him. And he attributes that change to the book because he told everybody about the book. Hey, fix an air conditioner just like a cook would. And people, what the hell? A cook doesn't fix air conditioning. That was his thing.
Yeah.
And so his rate, he's still in the 5,000 range. And he said, I have bigger impact. The more I charged, the bigger my impact was. And charges 5,000 a day.
So you help not only complete the book, but you also help set up, Amazon page and things like that.
So
What's
yeah.
do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah. So for us, the book shouldn't be just a book. It needs a few things to go with it. And, we learned there's certain things which sell on a Facebook authors page. And then we show people how to go to other venues like Good Books and other formats which are out there, which gets your book out there. And the process we developed is within a very few days, you can have your book on 10 or more sites for sale by just doing one thing right. And that's the thing we teach over and over again.
And because this is kind of a self-publishing kind of deal in conjunction with you,
Mm-hmm.
what typically is the average price of a book that the writer can buy his own book for, to be able to use for, speaking or whatever?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So it depends on which book it is. So if you do just a black and white book, 150 pages, 200 pages could cost you $6 to $8. A colored book, 150 pages, 200 pages could cost you $12, $13. And you retail them usually somewhere between 24 and $32 because there's a current rate on it. But you could do promotions and other stuff on it, which we teach you how to do. So you could get your book out the marketplace. But what I don't want you to do is write a book and just hope that I wrote the book, now people will come. The book is like everything else. You need to go out there, promote it. It's an extension of you. And for me, what we teach in this is that your book becomes the you, which doesn't sleep, it doesn't eat, it doesn't ask for a raise, it doesn't need a day off. If you have your second you set up right, it will make money for you while you sleep.
Yeah,
And
it adds the leverage for sure.
Yeah.
What advice would you give chefs or people like myself who are considering writing their own book? And then how do you balance running a publishing company? Well, no, let's just start with that one.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for chefs or people like me considering
So
writing?
I haven't met a chef yet, or I haven't met a consultant or coach like you yet, which doesn't think there would be a benefit in having a book. So number one. And so my answer to them is don't do it yourself and don't give the rights away to a traditional publisher. And that might stir some controversy, but I like the idea of being able to control my own content. I like, if I choose to license my book, I can license the book. I want to keep the rights and I want to keep all my stuff intact. And so for me, the advice would be find yourself somebody like us. It doesn't need to be us. But now where you know what I just taught you, you need to work with somebody to teach you what to do. And there's a lot of great people out there. Listen, we're not the only ones. But what we know better than anything is hospitality. And, we sell between 15 and 20,000 books a month for all of our clients.
Yeah, I mean, just the session that we had earlier where we were looking at the book cover, I created something on Canva and then sent it to you and you tweaked it and it looks way better. You didn't even change the color of the background or the color of the printing. You just reworked the integration of those colors together and it
Mhm.
looks so much better and so much more
And
professional. It
and
doesn't look
it's
like it was done on Canva.
appreciate it. And so what we learned is people look at a cover the same way as a website. They follow an F pattern, you know, right down the left of the site, and then they pick out two lines, what catches them. And if your book, now your cover has an F pattern, if you have those two things, people will love the cover.
Yeah, cool. Um, how do you balance running a publishing company with your other 15 different businesses?
So for me, I'm really passionate about this because I learned how to write with a publisher, and then I taught myself how to write without a publisher. And the freedom what a book can give you is unprecedented. There's nothing currently out there, we believe, which can have the same impact on you as the book. And because people know book is a lot of work. And I always use the example, if there is Monte, Silva, and there's another person which is equally as good looking as you, equally as talented, equally as great messaging. But if I'm the client, I look at second Monte and I look at you, but you have the book. In my mind, I'm saying, oh, this guy has a book, so he's not worried about his content because now people can steal his content. This guy has something else going on because otherwise he wouldn't have the balls to give his stuff away for free. Because I hire him for $1,000, $2,000 a day. Now I can learn everything just in the book for 19.95. This guy has some other skill. And a book is, for me, I would say the book is a doctor's title for somebody else, because now it elevates you because you put in some effort. You're not worried about your content because people can steal content, but they can steal culture. And I want to have somebody who has that and not just the skill to bring my restaurant forward. So for me, that's the difference over what I believe a book can do for you.
Yeah, it's a lot like, when the celebrity chefs started writing cookbooks and um, kind of, telling people how to make something right on a show or whatever. Those restaurants just became more popular,
Hmm.
and the chef, elevation of the chef in our
Yeah.
country grew. But giving away that free content didn't close down restaurants.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
was
that's
gonna say
because there's
David,
so
David.
much.
Yeah,
There's
for
so
me,
much.
David Chen is a good example. You know, he's kind of controversial in Behind the Kitchen. People knew about this, but as he leveraged his book, he became more popular than ever, because people say, "Now I know why he does this. This happened to him as a kid. Now I know why he does this," and people love that. And a book allows people to look behind the curtain to see what's going on, and it also gives your readers the confirmation that you're vulnerable, because now you just shared your stuff with them and now they know who you are.
Yeah, I share the first chapter of my book talks about mindset and the importance of understanding change, right? Because the book premise is about how we did things wrong for 50 years. We had these false beliefs, and now we're auto correcting those things. And they were I've been doing most of these for the last 15, 20 years and way before COVID, but they're even more applicable now. But they still require a certain amount of effort to execute. And what I'm finding is, just like those books, it elevates the platform, but it doesn't preclude people from hiring me as their coach. It just
Mhm.
gives them more reason to. And the story part that you shared is super important. So that first chapter, I talk about the need for change, changing
Yeah.
your mindset. And then chapters 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, are kind of my backstory of how I grew up in the business, how I just crushed it in a very short period of time, and then went through burnout, and then how do I now crush it without going through burnout, without going through a divorce. And then that trajectory then lead, and there's stories in there that people can identify with,
Mhm.
because I'm not the only one that's been through those things, right? um, but it not only, our mess is our message, and so when we can share we've been where somebody else is and we worked our way through that, then the rest of the book is focused on strategy and execution of those things.
Mhm. I love that. And, to answer the question, is that how do you balance all of that and all the other stuff we do? This is important to me. And I set time aside. I have now a team designated to help me with that. And for me, I want the chefs to have that same unfair advantage I had with my first book. And if we can be part of pivoting people's career, or even help you to bring an extra 50, 100 seats in your restaurant every week because of your book, that's why we're doing it for. It's not about the money. It's about the impact the book can have on you, your career, your community, and your family. And that's why we do what we do.
And you partnered with Mackenzie on this. I know that she's a big part of your company, and she's
Mhm.
awesome. She's great to
Yeah,
work with.
she's amazing. She has a really good eye for what works, what doesn't work. She's a different generation than us, so she also looks at books differently than we do. And yeah, she's amazing, and I'm excited to see where this brings us with our relationship with her. But she is an amazing addition to the team.
Yeah. Could you elaborate on the educational and informative programs that you offer through the publishing company, through your show, things that you do besides either doing the work for them or doing it with them? What are some other educational and
That's
informative programs you
that's
offer?
a really good question. So one of the things we do is, um, and you probably experienced that too. The more successful you become, um, the less friends you have. Your friend circle shrinks, because if you grow differently than your friends, they're uncomfortable around you. And if they were never real friends, they will not stick around because they're uncomfortable by the way, um, not just the way you talk, but the way you work. And I had this conversation just this weekend with a friend of mine. He's the same age as me. And he says, Christian, I don't know how the F you do it. You talking about scaling, I'm talking about retiring. And, as you do this, your circle gets smaller. And as your circle gets smaller, the people which are in your circle have a bigger impact. So for me, we started something called the Business Breakthrough Academy at the time, where we kind of help people around that. And we didn't have the impact we wanted to. And then we created our first mastermind. So if you haven't been part of a mastermind, I encourage people to be part of a mastermind. And now we have the Business Disruptor Mastermind, where we get people which have a certain level of success or desire or drive, and we put them in a room with like-minded people. And it's amazing what happens. And the first year, we started 18 businesses together, and our group was only 12 people, and then 14 if you include me and Joe, which were the two founders. Those 14 was, we started 18 businesses. We shared 17 gigabytes of data. My admin, Ann, at the time sent 400 emails. We just looked at the data, what we had for the first year. And we help somebody go from idea to a business to 100,000 sales in less than 6 months. So it's amazing what being in the right room with the right people, the impact it can have for you, and how it can leverage not just your expertise, but how you can become a resource to others. Because we all need somebody who sees in us what we don't see in ourselves. And we all need somebody who invests in us as we invest in somebody else. And that's what we do with our mastermind program. And that's one of the things. And then we have some other educational things out there around leadership. We have a nonprofit called the Culinary Leadership Academy. If you ever go there, there's leadership content out there for free. We're selling a few of our courses for a few $100s on our regular site. If you go through that site, you get it, and a substantial discount. So for us, we're trying to do whatever we can to support the industry, and we're doing it as inexpensively as we can. We just want to cover our costs and provide the tools the chefs need to have that greater impact, as we talked earlier about, in their career, in their business, in their communities, and their families.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the phrase, um, "You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most," right?
Mhm.
And so when you're in a group like that, you're naturally in this constant state of being around people with great ideas and energy and positivity that I think, when we struggle to launch something because it's not going as fast as we'd like this
Yeah.
book. Um, it's sometimes it's that relational tug that we have
Yeah.
inside a
And
membership site that helps
and
us.
I believe the biggest benefit is, we all need accountability. So if you are accountable to somebody who plays the same level game as you are, or even a higher level of game as you do, the way you react to it and yeah, how you deliver and how you show up is totally different.
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of having a mastermind group to hold you to account without judgment. Because that's one of the things we teach in our masterminds. Um, we all agree to be dissect information as it comes in. And we do this without judgment because we made the commitment that we here to help the whole. And Sean Walchef also always says, a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's really the same format what we do in our mastermind. And if you ask for honest feedback and you open to receive that feedback, this people or this group can have an amazing impact in what you do.
yeah,
And again, if you heard about a mastermind and you're not part of a mastermind, you should. You don't need to be part of ours. Join any of them. There's a lot of good ones out there. But I encourage everybody to be part. I belong to 4 currently, and I might think of joining a 5th one because all of them provide some different values and some different insights. And for me, what was the beginning of all of that was my main business mentor. And I haven't seen him in a few weeks. I seen him yesterday, and he said, "Christian, I'm around for the whole summer. I want you to spend more time with me. So we want to make sure we set you up for success." And he's one of those people, which raised 300 million to buy a water company
yeah,
from 3 or 4 of his friends. So the way of the level he plays is something we all need. And we have a great relationship. And he always says to me, "Christian, you know what I love about you being part of my mentorship circle? I give you an idea, I give you a nugget. The next time you've seen it, you scaled it. You didn't just implement it, you run with it." And for me, that became kind of my life purpose. When somebody teaches you something or give you something which is valuable, you implement it and you run with it. And if it doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, let's try something else. But giving up is not an option.
yeah. What kind of feedback have you received from chefs who have participated in the book writing and the masterminds and things like that?
So the people which wrote the books, they said, we had no idea. You made it sound so easy. We didn't think it can be that easy. And the impact the books had on their lives and careers has been amazing. And it was also not just that, because somebody in our group wrote a book. He never wanted to make any money. He never wanted to do anything with it. He wanted to write his book because his mother-in-law owns a restaurant and she has not written down a single recipe. And he said, "I wanted to keep her legacy alive." And that's why I wrote the book. He did the photography in the restaurant. It's not the most polished book, but having the book itself and the impact that book will have. Hopefully his mother-in-law is around for a very long time, but in 50, 100 years, people will really relish that book because it's legacy.
Yeah,
And for
yeah. The
me,
family, the family, and his mom and herself. Just
yeah.
what a cool thing to do for someone.
And I imagine you, in a very short period of time, your son will be able to say, "Oh, my dad he wasn't amazing in what he did. He's also published. I have his book right there." And, I read it periodically because when I read it, I hear him say it to me.
Yeah,
And for me, that's the impact of a book. And how about if you want to write a book? And I just had this conversation a few days ago with a nonprofit. We want to raise money. I was like, "You need a book." She said, "Well, how would a book help me?" I said, if you have a website, which is great, very informational, but what's not in the website is you. So if you write a book from your point of view, why you start this, what the drive behind this, it lets people look behind the curtain of who you are. Every nonprofit needs a book. It doesn't need to be a 150-page book, but it needs something which elevates them from other things. If
Yeah.
you want to be a consultant, if you want to scale in your career, how about it being a sous chef and you want to be an executive chef and you walk into the hiring director's office and say, hey, I'm so into what I do here for XYZ club, restaurant, hotel, whatever it is. I believe in it so much. I wrote down recipes which reflects who we are as an organization. Don't tell me
Yeah.
you're not going to get that job,
Yeah.
And
I
so for me,
during COVID, my son was 1 when COVID hit. And during that time, I had some downtime and was starting to build the restaurant coaching business. And I came up with I went on a walk with my son and I came up with 4 life lessons that he taught me during that walk.
Mhm.
And I have that slated to be a book, probably not the next one, but the one after that. And you talk about leaving that for your kid. That's going to be really, really cool. Not only that, but the principles in it, I think, will help so many people. So,
Yeah, and
um,
and then let's take it a step further. If he has kids and his son, his daughter, one day gonna say, "Hey, Dad, tell me about my granddad." And he said, I can tell you what you want, but you need to read how he felt and how he looked and how passionate he was in what he did. Because that passion didn't just reflect in the hospitality dignity. That's how he treated me as his son. This is how he treated my mom, his wife, and this is how he treated everybody he came in contact with. So if you know who your grandfather was, read that book because that's him.
yeah,
And for me, that's the beauty of a book.
yeah, that's great. What future plans do you have for expanding your educational initiatives for chefs?
So for us, our big goal around this is that there's 3 things we want to do. So number one is we want to get even faster the way we do the book. We want to provide even more value back and better. We have currently templates. We have in better templates what we do. Also, the book consuming culture is changing a little bit. How great would it be if you have a book which can be multisensory? Where you could go and watch something, listen to something, where it links out to a podcast or something else. For me, then the next step is if somebody's something really passionate about something, and we started this a few years ago, is that we want to have the simple process in place for you to take that book and build a business around it. Not only a business, we want to have something which you can leave to your family or whoever you want. We want to help chef because if there was one thing COVID taught us is our industry is a very fragile industry. So if I can help them make another 15, 20, 50 grand a year on the side on a book, which runs on autopilot, I think that's where we want to be. And then the final thing with us is we want to create the Netflix of book publishing. So if you want to know anything about the industry, you come to our site because we have shift happens. We have how to be a great team leader, how to build an amazing mise en place, how about to be the best baker, how to get a muffin to rise every single time, even if you come to work hungover. All of the things, which normally come, we want to become the Netflix of cooking, education, reading material for you. If you have a problem, you come to us. You find the solution.
Yeah, that's great. Can you discuss any upcoming projects, programs that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah. So our book course used to be called, it had the 3 Bs. It was the book builder blueprint, because the idea of the book builder blueprint was that we want to give you the blueprint to build books, not just write one. We want you to build books. And we rebranded this now to the Premier Hospitality Publishing Company, because we really invested into the industry. So what's coming is we re-recorded all the new videos. We have new materials. We have new websites. We have new information and stuff out there. We've been toying around with AI. I think there's a lot of regulations going to come around AI and book writing, but how to leverage maybe AI in your book writing. So we put it all together in a brand new package, which we're going to launch the end of July. And the new program is going to start the 1st of August of this year. So I'm really excited to relaunch our book writers course. So if anybody listens to this is interested, come and leave us a note below and then or reach out to us anyway. We get you the link ahead of time. But we have a 3-day seminar where we teach people how to write a book. And if they still want to have more help, they could come and join us in our live programs.
That's great. What how do your shows and your educational programs help in promoting and selling your other products?
So that's a really good question. And for us is because we are in a very niche space. And my new book, for an example, which is coming out in a few days, it's called Culinary Kung Fu, is where we learn or we take all the principles we have learned over the years. And if you need more support or you need something else, within our portfolio of companies, we can support you with it. And that's what we want to build. We want to have a full circle of support for the people which come into our programs. And for me, that's the most important thing for me. And we are not playing in anything else, because one of a very important, not just lesson, but a very important message for me is for the people consuming our content is, if I teach you how to write a book, it's not because I read about it, I heard about it, or I watched a video about it. The reason I teach you is because I spent 15 years screwing it up. I spent money, which I didn't have to spend. I wasted time. I wasted impact. Because if there's one thing I encourage anybody on the book, if you know how to make a great meal for type 2 diabetes and you don't want to write the book, I would have to challenge you and say, how dare you not write the book? Because if you have a skill, a knowledge, or something which can help somebody lead a whole different life, a better life, how about if you teach somebody how to cook for type 2 diabetes and they get 10 years, 15 years more out of their lifespan, how dare you not write their book? And I know chefs are very creative. And if there's something which is very insignificant for you, but it could have a huge impact in people's lives, careers, and their families. So if you know something, you need to write a book about it. And for me, we want to be the go-to for all of that.
Yeah. So we've had many conversations, and we've talked about with Shift Happens, it's going to be a book. There's going to be an opportunity for it to be an ebook. There's going to be an opportunity for it to be an audio book. There's going to be an opportunity to have a journal or a notebook. There's going to be an opportunity for mini courses or master courses, and there's going to be opportunities for masterminds. Do you want to kind of talk about how because the experience that I've heard throughout publishing is either you go with a big publisher and they basically make all the money, or you self-publish and you hardly make any money. And for me, I definitely want to make some money, but I want it to allow me to speak on more stages and allow me to do more group sessions and things where that knowledge can be shared with as many people as possible. Because to the point I made earlier, if you want to get healthy, everyone knows if you eat right and you work out, you're going to be healthy. But yet we live in an obese nation, and that's why there's a whole industry on personal training, because of the discipline necessarily to implement those things. And so I don't want to write a book and have people go, yeah, that's great in theory, but I can't make that happen. And so I'm adding things to that, not only to diversify revenue streams, but also to make sure that those people that read the book have the things that they need to be successful.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. So what we put in every book, in everything we do, people pay for convenience and people pay for speed. So your book needs to have one of two of them, possibly even both. where you help people shorten their learning curve and where you see instant impact. So if your chapter, and I had the opportunity to get the book from you a few months ago. Any of these things you teach of the same strategies, if they implement one today, they see an impact tomorrow. And that's the beauty of your book. And so for me, I think the days of, for us, I'm using us as regular people, if you want to, no pun intended, for us writing a book, the book is an extension of who you are and what I'm after. And if you get to a level that you're Gordon Ramsay, you need the book because people want to be like you. That's the difference. So that's where a publisher comes in and they can do an amazing job for you. But for us, where we want this to become an extension of you, I want to do the self-publishing because I have the rights, because as my ideas, my practice, my goals, my vision changes, I can update my book because I own the rights. And for me, I'm more interested in that, because then for me, the book not just becomes the book, it becomes an audio tool I can sell. It could be a visual tool I sell if you want to have great graphics and that. And for me, it becomes something I license out. You know my story. I licensed my book to one of the airline companies. And I would not be able to do this if I go to a traditional publisher. They would take that. And for me, it also allows me to take the book and give it back to my culinary school back in Austria, has access to my book, and it doesn't cost them anything. So for me, I can decide how the book is being leveraged and where it shows up and how it shows up in the marketplace.
Yeah. This final question, a friend of mine wrote a book. It came out late last year, and it was for sale. And he's a talented guy, and so what he had to write was important to share. But also, I wanted to support him as a friend, so I bought the book. And he just recently changed the strategy, where the book is free, you pay for shipping. If I weren't his friend, I'd probably be a little pissed that I paid full price for a book, and then 6 months later found out I could have paid for shipping. How do you balance those kinds of decisions? And again, I'm happy to support him, and I say who it was, because I was happy to pay the $20 or whatever I'd spent for the book. But for those people that it's not your buddy, and you're buying a book because you want to learn something, and there's this value of, hey, this book is worth $20, and then you find out that you could get it for $3.99, shipping and handling. How do you balance all of that?
So for me, when I hear this, somebody didn't get good advice on how to market a book. And every book should have a strategy. And I do believe that a book loses value as time goes by. And it's okay to do this, in a year or 2 or 5 years, not within the first year, because you just devalued your brand. So if you would work with us, we would never allow you to do that, because your brand is what it is. And if somebody does this, for me, it shows me they're more interested in the sale of the book than the impact of the book. And for me, there's other ways to leverage a book without doing the $3.99 fire sale. And for me, what we do in our programs, if you sign up for one of our, we have now 9 different programs out there. We give it a book for free. If you have some other need for it, we use the book as a promotional tool more than anything else. And for me, I'm not a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. And for me, the book is an extension of who you are. I never expect to make any money of it. And all the money what we make is all fun. I wanted to do it because I want the book to have an impact. And I want to do it because I want to show chefs, we are quite busy. If I can write a book in 8 weeks, so can anybody else. And, one of our students did it in day 32 and day 34. And this guy has a full-time consulting company. If he can do it, for me, it's just a confirmation that the process we put together works.
Yeah.
And where we are different than any other course, the joke is I have 34 books. And the reason I did 34 books, every time I do the course, I write a book with the audience and I let them tell me what I want to write about. And every time we do it and go through the process, which is 3-4 a year, I learned something new. And as we learn something new, I re-record my video. And as we have a new strategy, we add it to the tool list. And for me, if you're part of our program, you have the latest and greatest, because just 3 months ago, this is what I did to get my book done.
Yeah.
And none of the information we teach is old. We re-record it all the time, and the team laughs because it's now on our always to-do list. Hey, I learned these 2 things. We need to re-record it. How about using this? Hey, I just learned how to take the book and make an app out of it for free. Oh, let me teach that. All the little things we have learned. And as we learn new things and get access to new tools, now the latest book I launched, Culinary Kung Fu, is 100% written in my car. And I wanted to always do this. I have an accent. Okay, I use a small little program, which is $6 a week, to rant in the car. Then I bring it back here. I have a program which transcribes what I just ranted about. And then I read through it and says, I was just all over the place. Or says, oh, this is really good. And then I put it in 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, must use. Number 2, needs to be cleaned up. And 3, get away. It's just if you need something else. And then the whole book became, I do it in the car, come back here, edit it for 20 minutes, and do it every single day. And it was really hard because at the first time I did it, I was in my car and says, what I do when I bring my daughter to the dance studio, which is back and forth, it's 45-minute round trip. I ran the whole 45 minutes about culinary kung fu, blah, 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 blah. I'm 9 minutes into it. I was like, oh shit. I think I'm out of what to say, kind of thing, kind of.
Yeah.
So, and then, and I'm just, I start over and all of this, and you kind of get, passionate about it. You know how it goes when you speak about it. And when you drive and you stop at a light and people look over at you and you like, you're talking to somebody, so they think, this guy needs help. But they always let you go in front of them. So you don't need to, people are very courteous if you wave in the car and talk to yourself. But for me, and I never thought about that this is a possibility. I also tried AI. I do not recommend AI because it takes away from what a book is. I'd rather have you make.
It's not writing it in your voice.
Correct. And so I think AI still ways away from the book, because look at what Amazon is doing. Amazon is asking you already if you used any shape of AI in your book. And I know when you upload the book, Amazon has it run through a program which will make sure that you are correct or that you're not lying. I trust Amazon. So that process is becoming better too. And then the final thing for me is where we are different than anybody else is, so for an example, there's different costs of the different programs. And for us, this is a cost from the low end. If you do the low end, halfway through, you say, Christian, I realized I need more help. What you paid off the low end, we give you credit for the next one, and we give you credit for the next one. So the end of the day is we want you to become an extension of what we do. And we charge because we want to be able to pay our overhead, and there's certain things it costs us to do to run the organization. But if you sign up for our program, know that none of the information is older than 3 months, because I write a book every 3 months. And as I learn something, I update when I talk about it. And when you watch one of my videos, know that I didn't read about it, watch it or anything else. I just freaking did it. That's what I'm telling you. This is what you should do because I just did it, Yeah. And that's where we are different than anybody else. And I know there's people out there which have great content out there just like us, but I know they don't do what we do, that they re-record videos every single time. And my final thing is, where we want to get to is the best of our students. We want to hire them back as faculty, and then they will start teaching certain subjects, and then they don't need me anymore. So that's why we do what we do.
That's great. So this has been a great conversation. If you're listening in and you have had a desire to write a book, it can be much easier than you think and much quicker. And I highly recommend that you reach out to Christian and utilize his company to not only help you complete the book, but also add other revenue streams and other things that can help
Yeah.
you. I always learn something every time, multiple things every time we're talking, and I really appreciate all that you do for our industry. I appreciate your friendship. I'm excited to be learning, as one of the students of your program to get this book out, and that's just going to help me continue to put content out there that's going to help our industry, and that's very exciting for me. So, thank you.
No, thank you. You're very kind. I mean, the information in your book is going to help people, especially I love, you called it the new economy. The way you operate a restaurant today is a lot different the way you did it a year ago, 2 years ago. And I think you have your finger on the balls, and the information is going to be phenomenal. And I know for us being part of this in some shape or form to help you get your information out there, we're really excited to do that. So thank you for the conversation. And if any of our listeners enjoyed today's conversation, this was a special episode from the Disruptive Chef Club. This is the conversations we had where we teach you valuable lessons to become better in what you do in the hospitality industry. And if you haven't done so, please go to the Disruptive Chef Club, sign up, become a member, and you will get a front row seat of all the amazing new things, what we do. And I want to give a shout out. If you haven't done so, follow Monte Silva on social media. He is on LinkedIn. He is on Facebook and Instagram. Follow him. His stuff is amazing. And if you haven't done so, make sure you reach out to him. Make sure you get on the list for the pre-sale of his book, which is going to come in a very few weeks. So with that, Monte, thanks for being here. And this is our Monday afternoon episode from the Disruptive Chef, the club. Any final words from your side, Mr. Monte?
No, it was great. Thanks, Chef. I appreciate the time for sure.
So thanks, everybody. Remember, until next time, my name is Christian Fischer. I'm signing off for the day. Be the chef, be the chef who sets the world on fire. And if you haven't done so, make sure you join us and make sure you stay disruptive. Thanks, everybody.